Welcome all. So this is Billy, and Billy was submerged in water for a period of time, and he wasn't dried out properly, so he has corrosion all over. And we'll just take a look. I have the macro on. We can just take a closer look. You can see, you know, and it's all over the board. That looks pretty nasty, doesn't it? Yeah. So the question is should I bother to try to resurrect Billy being in such poor shape? The answer is I'm not sure. Running into the flashlight. You know, I mean, it seems relatively superficial, the corrosion. Boy, the Agnes socket doesn't look good. That might be something I swap out. The thing about the socketed areas is that if you have corrosion, you can see the corrosion down here, you know, but there's a lot of this, a lot of pins that you can't see underneath this chip. You can't see whether you're being successful or not in cleaning them, and it's even, you can actually see those pins. It's even worse with some of the other, with most of the other sockets, because those ones you really can't see much of anything, and the access to cleaning them is not that great. Yeah. I mean, I wonder how many of these discrete components, these capacitors, resistors, diodes, whatever, are bad, you know, or just would need to be replaced. Memory actually doesn't look that bad. But, so, I guess I can get started on it and we can go from there to see. Yeah, look at that. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. I think what I want to do, I mean, at the very least, I'm going to give it an initial cleaning with some acid, you know, and then maybe take the Agnes socket out, but I have to clean it first, somewhat, because the corrosion kind of acts as a barrier for soldering and desoldering. You have to clean it off before you get to any of that stuff. Let's just take a look at the bottom side. The bottom side, you know, you can just see that something is there, you know? And that's not dirt or anything. That's where corrosion has got in there, I believe. Here's a worse spot right there. I don't know, man. I don't know. And there's that spot that's shaped like a hole in the EMI shield where the water just kind of got in there, and you know. But anyway, so I'm going to get to the first step, and I'm going to get some CLR solution. I think I'll cut it down because I want it to stay on the board for a while. I'm just thinking if I could probably take a bin and put this into a bin that's slightly larger, and maybe take some distilled water and CLR and put it together, and just soak this, literally soak this thing in there. I think that's probably the best bet. Okay, so here we have a bucket. Put some CLR in it, the rest of one of the bottles that I had, and that's probably good. And what we have is, hopefully it's enough, a gallon of distilled water. Yeah, pretty sure it will be. Mix it up a little bit. and Amiga motherboard. Yeah. Okay. Submerged. So the distilled water will have no it's soft water. It doesn't have any minerals in it, and the kind of thing that typically causes corrosion and whatnot. You could spray distilled water on something and it won't, it might rust though, because rust can come from the air, especially in this part of the country. I'm not too far away from the ocean. Anyway, so we're going to leave that in there for a long time, at least a couple hours, and then I'll check it, go over it with a toothbrush, see if some of that stuff comes off, and I'll probably wind up soaking it in here for maybe overnight or something. I don't know. We'll see. I have the CLR cut down enough where I don't think it's going to do any damage to the motherboard. I certainly don't like to leave this stuff on my skin or anything else, because it really is an acid and it will eat through lots of different things. So, well, here's Billy after about an hour and a half. And forgive the glare of the light bulb, but I see some shiny stuff. Shiny stuff is a good sign. I see some shiny solder pads coming out. I'm going to give things a little scrub. The Agnes was pretty bad. The Agnes socket, PLCC socket. Remember, this was the ROM socket was kind of crappy. I like the way the 68,000 socket is looking. Those RAM chips were okay, but there were, yeah, kind of liking what I'm seeing, guys, and I don't really see. Surprised the label stayed on. So I'm just going to do a little scrubbing on this, and yeah, this might work. Okay guys, well, this is the way the board looks after cleaning. There are, you know, I just don't know about it, you know. It's, how much am I going to worry over this? I guess I could just take this one step at a time, and the minute I figure out what step is too far, I'll just stop, you know. But it's a, you know, the Agnes socket, you know, I don't like it. And since I can get that out of there in about 10 minutes, I guess it's probably worth it to give that a whirl, you know. But all the other sockets are looking pretty good. But I don't really see any green on this board anymore, which is nice. But yeah, there's areas that where it's eaten through some of the solder mask. And maybe over here. I don't know. So, I mean, if I'm concerned about these solder pads that are no longer shiny, I can go at them with some flux and a soldering iron and clean them up, I guess. And yeah, it isn't the chips that are soldered in, all the logic chips and everything, they don't seem to be that bad. I think it was pretty bad over here. Yeah, these, I think I pretty much got all of the corrosion off of here by soaking it in that CLR solution. And that spot that was the shape of the hole in the EMI shield. The actual that hole shape is gone, but you can see what's been left. Let's just scrape some of this solder mask away. See what we've got underneath. That's the worst part right there. But there are other areas where there are some, yeah, So the, yeah, that's where the moisture got underneath it and sort of tarnished the copper. So, but then there's these other areas here. Here's a nice area that I can scrape off because it's only just a ground plane. So, is this just a surface discoloration, or is there a problem underneath? And would it spread, you know? Would it get worse? It's almost like I just have to hang on to this board and put it in storage and give it a few years and see if it has a problem again. Can't think of anything else. I mean, I can't sell it to somebody like this. What else would I do with it, you know? I mean, it's got some spare parts, but I mean, I've got all these logic chips, I got all these sockets. That video hybrid is just about the only thing that you can't get anymore that's pretty tough. But yeah, the legs on all these chips, a lot of them were green, and there's no green anymore. So as far as the corrosion is concerned, it's gone. You know. Well, you know, I mean, if the board, let's do this. If the board doesn't work, then that'll affect my decision greatly. So I'll just put a bunch of contact cleaner in the Agnes slot and throw an Agnes in there and see. So let's give this board a test. Okay, so here we got all our chips in, and we're going to turn it on and see what happens. Wow. Wow, that's cool. Except now I really don't know what to do. So I have fully tested Billy, and Billy works fine. There's absolutely no problems with Billy. He is the only completely working motherboard. All I had to do was clean him, but he looked the worst. He had corrosion and rust in some places. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to store Billy as he is right now, and go back to him in 6 months or a year or whatever, and just determine if, you know, there's some corrosion that would spread or something. I'm kind of curious. So I'm going to take some very detailed pictures, close-up detailed pictures of the motherboard in some areas where there's some tarnishment or what looks to be an area that could have some kind of disturbance of the solder mask or whatever. And then I will take him out a year from now or whatever and compare and see if he has any growth, if anything gets any worse. But I mean, half the vintage motherboards are in, I believe, in this condition. Amigas are in actually really nice condition compared. They used some high quality solder, it looks like. I mean, it seems to be somewhat resistant under normal circumstances. It's only if it, you know, you store it in the south of Florida or something like that, where you know, the water's just in the air, like thick. But I mean, plenty of people have put these similar motherboards like Macintoshes in the dishwasher. Somebody recommended that in one of my comments from the introductory video, and you know, and then they call it done. But I did more. I soaked this board in CLR so that it would get every single place where moisture was inside the connectors. You know, use the pressure of the water itself to get in there. Shake it around, make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies. So I'm actually pretty confident that this board is very usable and will last a long time. But as an experiment, because people insist, and I've seen people who look at a solder pad that is not shiny and say, oh, well, I mean, you need to reflow solder on that, otherwise it's going to spread. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, tarnishment is not the same as rust or corrosion, you know, so, but I'll either prove myself right or prove myself wrong, and we'll find out eventually. But as far as this video series goes and this motherboard goes, that's it.